It is Sunday, May 22nd at 2:58 p.m. Eastern Time in the year 2022. This is my video journal. I'm Mitch Miller, and my wife just got back from Dublin, Ireland. Yesterday, her flight was delayed 18 hours. She's getting her hair trimmed right now, so I thought I'd do a segment. Today's segment brought to you by the Irish Times. Get yours today. Get your copy of this one, and we'll look for hidden messages in that as I read through it. Every time my wife travels abroad, she brings me back a newspaper from the country she's at. Also brought to you by Guinness. I got my Guinness shirt. Alright. So, talked about my nuclear fusion steel plant idea for a film and working class mentalities owning and controlling the female orgasm. The rationale being that that if you forbid your woman from masturbating, that she will be more horny and more willing to have sex with you when you get home from your 12-hour workday at a steel mill. It's not a great rationale, and I think it's pretty insane, but there could be hundreds of millions of people globally that control their women in this way, so I'm trying to gradually break that cycle. But what I really want to talk about today is the Havana Syndrome, the people who were attacked by wireless waves, and it could have been from satellite systems. I believe I was attacked and tortured in this way, and I've listed some of the symptoms: night sweats, sleeplessness, muscle twitching, convulsive tremors that overcome your body when you exercise to a high degree, hyperventilate, or have an orgasm. So we're entering a time in which you are tracked everywhere you go with your cell phone, with your bank transactions, your debit card, your credit card. Your car has a satellite radio receiver in it. Everywhere you go. What do you do if a satellite is locating you, a signal is being beamed into your skull, and you have night sweats and sleeplessness? My example would be the big tech companies could target federal agents, for example, and so you should enable your federal agents to have access to cash while we still can, until they phase out cash completely, which I hope they never do, because with cash you could, and you should also equip federal agents with phones that have easily removable batteries, and laptops for that matter, which I've proposed doing in the Femme Party novel. This way those devices are powered off completely and they cannot be tracked. Therefore, an agent could take the battery out of their devices, have a vehicle like my Matrix, my 2003 Matrix, that is hard to track, and use cash for every transaction they have to, say, drive out to the countryside, drive to a remote area, drive to a safe house, and hopefully outrun the satellite systems and be able to be in a safe space where they're not being radio frequencied from satellite systems. That's just a contingency, that's a backup plan, but you should have these steps in place for federal agents so that they could, say, roll up and grab someone like me, and instead of me coming off as a paranoid schizophrenic by saying, does this car have satellite radio? Is your phone actually shut off, or is it just powered down? Is the battery out of it? And things like that. Now, I'm doomed because back in 2011, when I first got my diagnosis, I wanted to go without being tracked, to see what it was like to go without being tracked. That's why I got rid of all my social media and everything. But if you're married to someone who won't give up technology, then you're kind of doomed. They can track her phone everywhere she goes, track her satellite radio, and I'm usually with her. My theory was I was born in 1983 and she was born in 1984, and anybody born on or after the year 1984, which is the George Orwell book, 1984, my belief was that he was predicting that anyone born on or after that year is doomed to be tracked. They will not give up computer technology no matter what. They are addicted for life, and even if you pointed out that people were being attacked by this stuff, they would never give it up, which I can't prove, and it's very hard to prove. But I don't know even if I could prove it to my wife that this causes my mental illness, and that because she holds on to her internet capable devices, I suffer from periodic attacks from satellite systems. I don't know if she would actually give up. She's pretty addicted to that stuff and she needs it for work. I get it. But she spends a lot of time on her phone when she gets home, which always bothered me. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Wireless waves and national security threats, and these are some of the national security threats that I wanted to bring up to the President of the United States when I went to the White House, to politicians in the EU. I mean, we are developing cars, vehicles capable of going over 100 miles an hour that weigh a ton or more. They're weapons. They can kill people, and every manufacturer is incorporating self-driving technology and internet capable, wireless capable communication into all of these vehicles. This is what I mean by the government doesn't put in safety measures or put in backup plans. You're telling me they couldn't, they subsidize a lot of these industries. They couldn't subsidize one manufacturer that makes a vehicle that does not have any wireless connectivity and no self-driving features. We have to buy a classic gas-guzzling classic car with just an AM FM radio in it in order to get around this. This is the problem with this generation. They think they're going to solve the traffic problem by creating self-driving cars, and it creates a situation, a national security threat of epic proportions where all of these vehicles are hackable. We can't even secure people's bank accounts. Okay? What makes you think that auto manufacturers are going to invest the type of money they need to protect these vehicles from being hacked? And even if they did, all it takes is someone putting a device under the undercarriage of the car that links up with it. But right now, as it stands, you don't even have to put that device there. People in Russia could hack our vehicles. They can hack it from half a globe away and use them as weapons. And who's to say they're not just patiently waiting for every last vehicle to have these capabilities before they launch a large-scale attack of epic proportions on the American people? And again, the rationale is that if we have autonomous cars and stuff, I get the safety features. The brakes apply automatically with sensors so that it reduces collisions. I agree. A lot of these features are going to reduce crashes. But my argument is that some of these features make sense, but some of them don't. And if you just police traffic law like you do drug law, you'd have a lot better drivers and a lot fewer crashes. We literally train drug-sniffing dogs to sniff out a gram of marijuana, and they're also trained to attack, maim, and hypothetically even kill somebody over that gram of marijuana. Yet, we don't even begin to scratch the surface of enforcing traffic law like we could. And the other thing is, my magnet idea, my traffic magnet ideas on the back of trunks, that could streamline traffic hugely, and there's simple solutions that you don't have to create an entire armada fleet of autonomous vehicles in this country just to solve the traffic problem and reduce crashes. There are other ways that we could do it. We just haven't, because the politicians are afraid they're not going to get reelected if they actually enforce the laws that they passed. Everyone can agree that putting a substance in your body that creates a mind-altering experience is evil, inherently evil. It's not the normal state of things, and people who are on those things should be prosecuted if they cause an accident or something like that. But everybody makes a mistake while driving, and they don't want to be prosecuted for the one time they make a mistake, even though there are people out there that aren't making mistakes. They're aggressively driving like insane people, and those people could be prosecuted. So that's where I was going today. I mean, why aren't we subsidizing one auto manufacturer that makes vehicles, modern vehicles with all the safety features except for autonomous abilities, so that, let's say, all of our military leadership can buy these vehicles for their domestic use, so that we don't have an attack on all of the leadership of the military at the same time, because they're all driving satellite radio, GPS, autonomous vehicles. And even if they're not hackable, even if you have extra security put on them, look, when you drive in the north of the United States, you drive on winter roads with salt that corrodes and eats through brake lines. And cars lose their brakes on a regular basis in the wintertime because it corrodes through and all the fluid out of the brake line drains and the brakes go, they lose pressure and they're not usable. You have to hit the emergency brake. Now that's something that we could have developed a failsafe for, but that's the design of a car. When it gets 20 years old, the brake lines get corroded and you have an emergency situation. I had one in my Dodge truck. I've had them before. I've always driven old vehicles. So what happens when you have features that self-park or hit brakes automatically, or can drive themselves like Teslas, and that technology gets to be 20, 30 years old and starts malfunctioning? We can't predict how that's going to malfunction, right? Is it just going to start smashing into stuff? It's got autonomous features. When my brake line blows, I can hit the emergency brake, I can steer off the side of the road. But if it's autonomous and it takes over, so I think in the next 10 to 15 years we have, even if the whole thing doesn't get hacked, we have tons of vehicles aging out and having malfunctions. And who's to say when that starts happening that there aren't targeted attacks that they just blame on the age of the vehicle? So it's a national security threat of epic proportions. And again, we could have engineered brakes systems in vehicles, instead of front and back brakes being in one reservoir or split into two reservoirs, you could have had each brake line going to each each wheel on its own pressurized system so that if one line breaks, the whole braking system doesn't go out. That could have been designed 50 years ago. We didn't do it. We still just let brake lines blow without engineering a safety system that made sense, because it was cheaper to just wire all of the brake lines into one system. So, do you think they're spending all expenses to make sure that these autonomous features have every safeguard in place? And it's so convoluted and complicated. Every car company has its own software and technology, that how do you expect the federal government to regulate all of this and have the know-how to standardize it in any way? Through my traffic magnet company, I'm going to try to standardize vehicle software and push for these safety type things in addition to streamlining traffic. But again, that could be years from now. And I guess the point is, the best thing the government could do is found a car company or supplement a car company that makes electric vehicles that do not have autonomous features and do not connect to the wireless communication systems. They might have the ability to play MP4s and stuff when you plug it in, but I say don't even let them have AM/FM radio as a standard feature. So I can found that car company. I have ideas for it, but I have a lot of other projects that I'd like to see, and eventually someday we'll get there. But yeah, I think there's a mess on the horizon that needs to be addressed, and I'm going to try to address it through my traffic magnet company, but someone should have thought of this a long time ago, and we should have backup plans and wireless devices that allow you to pull the batteries out and allow people to escape from this crazy, entangled, internet controlled wireless system and escape to some place in Colorado and just lay low for a couple months using just cash so you can get some sleep and not have to be on antipsychotic medication in order to sleep at night. That's just my opinion. Thanks for listening to my opinion. I'm available for hire or for funding at any point. If you'd like to fund me, contact me through my websites or my phones. Thanks for watching. Join me on I guess tomorrow. I'll come up with something else to talk about while she's at Pilates. Thanks.